Hi there! We are moving to our next lecture, the topic of which is definition of remote sensing. The topics that we are going to cover today are as follows. What is remote sensing or Earth observation? Both of these terms are often used interchangeably, so if you hear satellite remote sensing or Earth observation, usually the people mean the same things. And why to use remote sensing? What are the advantages and disadvantages of satellite remote sensing? So let's go to the definition of remote sensing. Remote sensing is the use of electromagnetic radiation sensors to record images of the environment which can be interpreted to yield useful information. As you can see, this definition was proposed by Paul Curran, that he is a professor at the Southampton University, United Kingdom, back in 1985. Nevertheless, this definition is still up to date today. What are the key words of these definitions? Well, remote sensing is the use of electromagnetic radiation, this is the first key word, in order to record images, and then we apply different manipulations analysis to these satellite images in order to yield useful information that we are interested in. So why should we use remote sensing? There are a number of advantages and disadvantages of this of the satellite remote sensing. For instance, satellite remote sensing is often the most up-to-date source of data and information for Earth resources, and maybe the only data available, for example, in developing countries. It is synoptic, which allows regional scale studies to be undertaken relatively quickly and cheaply. It is possible to order satellite images over any portion of Earth's surface from a number of different satellite systems. Remote sensing is an up-to-date source of data and information for Earth resources. It allows us mapping of surface properties, monitoring of large areas, detection of changes among the same spot on the Earth's surface between different time steps. It is of a low cost, especially considering that nowadays many data providers provide data for the end users such as you and me for free. It is a frequent data, so we can get data sets for the same location at different time intervals, and we receive it quite quickly. At the same time, there are different limitations of the satellite remote sensing that one have to bear in mind when applying this technology. Remote sensing data requires some preprocessing. Well, I should say that this disadvantage actually was very important a few years ago, but currently most of the data providers provide satellite data products already processed and ready to be used without any additional processing. Nevertheless, the user have always to check the level of the product, of the satellite data products that he or she intends to use because sometimes you have to do other corrections, for example, atmospheric or geometric corrections. There is some technological constraints. For example, you have to have specialized hardware, so you have to have computer or laptop and software capable to do remote sensing or geospatial or geographic information system analysis. Well, this is also partly true because currently we can also use cloud computing platforms such as Google Earth Engine, which does not require installation of any specific hardware or software on your computer. So basically, the only requirements for the user is the availability of the steady internet connection to use Google Earth Engine. At the same time, if you would like to use remote sensing or GIS software on your desktop, then of course you have to have a capable computer and install some program to do GIS or remote sensing analysis, for example QGIS. And of course you have to remember that in order to apply GIS and remote sensing analysis, we have to understand some principles of remote sensing analysis. And I think the last limitation is probably one of the most important ones, and it says that remote sensing variables are often surrogate variables about the things of interest. So it's